Hello and welcome to Into the Woods with Holly Wharton. This podcast has evolved over the 5+ years since it first launched. From now on, I'm going to be talking about deepening your connection with yourself, taking inspired action, and really trusting yourself and your intuition. And also mindset, of course, but mindset of all kinds, not just business mindset. I think. Things are changing for me, as you may have noticed if you've been following me online or listening to this podcast, so anything goes here. I hope you stay along for the ride. Thank you so much for joining us today, and now let's get into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to the Into the Woods podcast, episode 336. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another episode with the fabulous Joanna Hennon. Today we ask the question, can you be addicted to healing and growth and personal development? And I think the answer to this is probably obvious, but I think the conversation is really useful. It's something that I hadn't really thought about until yesterday, as of when I'm recording this. I had another Kambo ceremony, and the woman that was running the ceremony said something to me that really made me start kind of reflecting on this and kind of asking myself, have I been addicted to personal development and healing and growth? And I think I have at, certain points in my life. And I've certainly changed a lot of the ways that I work with myself since a retreat that I went on back in August. I've been working with myself a lot less in terms of working with psyche and changing beliefs. Just haven't felt the need to do that. So it's been a really different experience for me. I kind of was really compelled to do a lot of work, and now I'm pretty okay. I've been kind of doing less frequent and more intensive things. That doesn't mean I'm not still addicted to it. Like, there are still things that I want to shift. But things have really changed for me in the way I approach my personal growth and my healing. So I think you will find this episode interesting and useful. I know I get a lot of really good feedback from my episodes with Joanna. So before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know what you're going to learn today. We talk about why healing and spiritual stuff can sometimes be an escape from physical reality. We ask the question, is learning and growth really the goal of life, or can we have other reasons for being here? We discuss why personal development culture feeds into the idea that there's something wrong with you. And that's something that can be hard to get our heads around because a lot of times we want to change, we want to grow. And there's a real fine line between being good with where we are and wanting something better and feeling like we're broken and we need to be fixed. We discuss why personal growth satisfies our need for control sometimes. And we also talk about why healing can be a distraction from real practical action. We discuss how to know when it's too much, when your personal growth is actually a problem. And we ask the question, is there truly something always more to heal? What do you do when you've been peeling the layers of your own personal onion, but your onion feels infinite? And what if you don't feel like you've been addicted to healing? How do you figure out whether maybe you are and you just haven't seen it? We ask the question, what about people who have good lives and don't do any personal development at all? How does that happen? We explore when personal development can sometimes be used as a crutch. And we ask the question, why is it a problem to be addicted to healing? Isn't healing good? And finally, we explore how to find the happy medium between addiction to personal development and simply doing nothing at all. So I hope you find this episode interesting and useful. I'm really, really happy with it. I think we had a really useful conversation for us, and hopefully you will feel the same. So without further ado, and I hate it when I say that, here's the episode. Hello, Joanna.
Hi, Holly.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Looking forward to our topic.
As always.
So today we're asking the question, can you be addicted to healing and personal development? And this is something that I proposed because yesterday I had a Kambo ceremony and was working on a topic that I feel like I've been trying to heal for many years, and it still hasn't shifted. And this is kind of like the last big topic that I feel like I need to work on and that I want to shift. And so I was talking to the woman who did my Kambo ceremony, and I have another couple of ceremonies coming up at the end of the year and healing stuff. And she said, set the intention that this retreat that you have coming up at the end of the year is the end of it. Set the intention that this is the thing that's going to shift and you're done with your healing. That sounded really nice, but then it got me thinking, like, can you really be done with your healing? Because I remember this conversation we had at the end or one of the weekends of my plant spirit healing apprenticeship, where we were talking about how, there's so much stuff to heal and how, it would be great to heal all of our soul stuff in this lifetime so that we don't have to come back and we just transcend or whatever the hell happens. And I didn't even know that was an option. And so I've like got these two kind of conflicting ideas, like heal all your stuff so that you move on to whatever the next thing is, or draw a line in the sand and say, this is it. So, thoughts?
I'm like, I don't have an answer.
How can you not have an answer to that?
I know. I don't have an answer. I don't know. I don't know is the answer. Like, I think I want to say there's truth in both.
Yeah.
But that's clearly impossible because they're exact opposites. And so I guess the actual answer is that we can't know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you didn't tell me that person said, oh, wouldn't it be great to heal all our stuff in this one lifetime and then not have to come back? Like, I think that's taking the overachiever thing a bit too far, to be perfectly honest.
It is, but like this was her intention and she believed that was possible. And that was kind of her goal, is to kind of finish up her soul's work in this incarnation and then move on to...
Yeah, okay, so this makes me think of one of the points that we wanted to talk about today, which is that it's really easy to just keep playing at the spiritual level, at the soul level, almost like as a distraction from being fully present in physical reality.
Yeah.
And like this is certainly something that I've experienced and have been called out on, because for me, being physical is really hard. And like it's much easier for me to be channeling and kind of hanging out at the soul level and working with people at the soul level than like having to address like real life stuff. And I think a lot of people who are quote unquote like awakened, so a lot of people who have that connection, that spiritual connection, I think it's easier because it's easier for them to do the spiritual stuff because that's our natural state. Like the physical space is not our natural habitat. Like, so we're just more comfortable at those levels because we remember that that's our home, that's where we came from, all that kind of thing. But we have to remember, I think, that we were born into the physical to experience the physical and to be here in the physical. So I'm not sure if it's possible to heal all the soul stuff in one lifetime.
That's, of course, assuming we've had previous lifetimes.
Yes, sure. But I wouldn't even, from my understanding, like, I can't imagine that would be a goal of any, or intention, at like a soul level intention of any soul coming into the physical to heal everything. That feels really weird to me, I have to say. And not, yeah.
I mean, it was a concept that I had never considered, but it came from someone that I really respect. And I thought, I didn't realize that was an option.
Okay, so it also like, because it comes from this assumption that the soul needs healing and that's why we come into the physical and then we can heal the stuff here.
Right.
But that's not necessarily true. And I have this story that I tell, like, I always kind of assumed, because I'm an overachiever, that like life is about learning. And there's like one big classroom and we learn our lessons. And if we don't learn, we come back and have to learn the same lesson. And it's all, it's all lessons. And I remember like somewhere at the start of like my journey with this, so at the start of my exploration with this, I can't remember what it was, but there was something around my mother that I was really judging. And I remember saying, like, why can't she be open to this lesson? Like, she's clearly not learning this lesson, you know, and she's just going to have to come back and do it again. And I remember my mentor, who has like the clearest connection to the spirit world, to spirit, that I have ever seen to this day. And she said to me, but not everybody comes here to learn. Some souls incarnate simply to experience. So it's possible that your mother just came to experience this kind of life. So a soul can be born into this lifetime to experience just what it's like to be a housewife. You know, and I've heard the same thing about more difficult choices like alcoholic. And so there's no expectation from the soul to overcome that challenge or to make that choice and then grow into another choice. Like the only point is to see what it's like. And so even if the personality that isn't quite happy, doesn't matter, because it's that unhappiness that the soul wanted to experience, or that lack of satisfaction that the soul wanted to experience. It just wanted to know what it would be like to live as this kind of person, or as this kind of person, or as this kind of person. And that really changes the conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And that it, like, so many people have popped into my head as you're saying that. Like, so that means, like, if you're not into personal development, there's nothing wrong with you. It probably just means that your soul just came to experience whatever it is you're experiencing in your lifetime. And it certainly doesn't mean that people that are into personal development are any way superior to people who are not into personal development. And I think some people can get on their, like, spiritual growth high horse and think that they're better than other people.
Yeah, that was definitely me judging my mother at the time. I was like, I am doing all this personal growth. Like, how can you not want to grow? Like that really, like, I remember thinking, like, there's something wrong with not wanting to grow. Like, clearly wanting to learn more and grow more is a good thing. You know, then I came to understand that that's not necessarily the case. And then as I grow older, I gain more understanding of the beauty of just experience.
Yeah.
And not to always be looking for challenges and growth.
Yeah.
But just to be.
Yeah. And to experience things.
And to experience things, like to allow yourself to experience things.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly looking for the lesson, growth opportunity, you're not actually in the moment experiencing the thing. You've kind of, your energy has moved ahead to where this thing will lead you. Right? Like, it's a really, it's an interesting thing.
It is. It is.
You know, I'm not against growth, obviously. No. Like, I actually think, like, I am very drawn to growth. So I don't know if that's something, you know, that's that I came to experience, is this constant learning, or like, I don't know what that is, right?
No,
but
I think
that's right for me.
Yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. I mean, I think the people that have come to this earth and are really into personal growth, I think perhaps that's what their soul chose to experience in this lifetime, rather than just, you know.
Although those people may have come to experience, for example, low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Or may have come to overcome low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And may have got caught in the trap of personal development marketing, which is, there's something wrong with you, let's fix it.
Yeah.
And then you'll be better.
So let's talk about that. Because I feel like this is a very delicate thing. Like, it's so hard, because it's like, I don't see that, like, there's stuff wrong with me and I need to fix it. It's more like I'm experiencing certain things that I don't want to be experiencing, therefore I want to heal those things. But there's a really fine line between those two perspectives.
Yeah, because you're not fully accepting those things that you want to experience, that you don't want to experience. Yeah. And I think you have a really good example, and I hope it's okay to share it, because I haven't asked you if I could share it.
I don't know. Let's see.
Let's see.
If not, we'll just edit this chunk out of the podcast. Delete.
But you got this message a while ago that you were meant to experience slower success.
Yeah. Oh, did I?
Yeah. You came to experience, like, the step-by-step.
Oh, yes. I came to start from the bottom and work my way up. Yes. Oh my God. My memory is so terrible. I totally forgot that. Yes.
So I don't think we're editing this out, because it's a really good example.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Right? So in your case, like it's the right thing for you to do to keep learning and keep growing
Yeah.
because that's the path you chose. So it's not, you haven't necessarily gotten caught in a
Yeah.
trap, but
Yes.
somebody who came for a different reason
Yeah.
may have gotten caught in the trap. And we see that, right? Like we see people getting really, really addicted to personal development stuff. They go from self-help book to self-help
Yeah.
book to self-help book, no real change, but they feel crappier and crappier about themselves because with
Yeah.
each self-help book, you identify more stuff that's wrong with you
Yeah.
and that you can't seem to shift
Yeah, exactly.
because you don't know
Exactly.
how, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that that is the perfect example, the example that you gave about me that I couldn't even remember. because, okay, so let me just explain this for people who haven't heard this. It was a session with Lisa. One of the guides that she works with came in and said that I have been very successful in previous lifetimes. And so my soul wanted to come in and experience what it was like to start from the bottom and work my way up slowly.
I remember, just as an aside, I remember when Holly got this message and like she called me and we were like, for fuck's sake, like what? You know, like
why did I choose that? Maybe I need to make like a sign on my wall every time I'm frustrated. Just, you came here to experience slow success.
Yeah, I thought that was really, we were just like, oh man, like that really sucks. You know?
Thank you, soul. What were you thinking, soul?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so it makes sense that I've been really into the personal development thing to help kind of support my slow success.
Yeah, but I think it's really easy to get addicted. And I think, like, I mean, we mentioned this a little bit before we started recording. I think we've both been addicted.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to do that. Like, it's easy to focus only on the personal development stuff, on the journaling and the beliefs and, you know, the tapping and like all that stuff. Partly because we feel like we're in control of a result. So we want a certain experience, we want a certain result. And by doing this stuff, like we think that we're working our way towards it. So it feels good. Like it feels like we're doing something, you know, towards what we want. Like we're proactive, right? And we're taking charge of our lives and all that stuff. And also, doing all that stuff is actually much easier than taking some of the action that's required to get to experience the stuff that you want to experience. So like the example that I give about this is my own struggle with visibility and like putting my message out there to a wider audience. Much, much easier for me to sit on my couch with my beautiful paper chase notebook and journal about this.
Yeah.
than it is to like identify and pitch to podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what am I going to choose? Right? Like I can convince myself that I have to do the mindset stuff first. And I'm not saying that I don't, by the way. Like this is anti-mindset, right? Anti-personal development thing. But I think we have to be really careful. And unless you're like super conscious and super aware and super honest with yourself, you can get caught in these kind of mini traps that you can just kind of trick yourself into thinking that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing when in fact you're not doing much of anything at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we see the healing, the journaling, the mindset work as the action in itself, rather than acknowledging that that is one of the actions, but then you also have to take practical action. And that's why I always talk about going up what I call the spiral staircase, which taking one step, the left step is your mindset work, the right step is your practical action, mindset, practical action, mindset, practical action. But you have to like do both. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve anything.
Yeah. And I think but the personal development industry is so big now.
Yeah.
Right? That it's in their best interests and in the best interest of like all coaches and mindset specialists and anybody in our industry, really. It's in their best interest to like convince people or to show people that the more of this mindset stuff you do, the better. Because then you're going to buy more courses, you're going to do more things, right? And just it's just to be aware for yourself. Like, obviously, it's important to do the mindset. Like, we have proven that over and over again, right? Like, you have to address that piece. You have to address your energy. Otherwise, everything's hard, and it just won't go in the end. But you also have to be really honest with yourself about when enough is enough.
Yep. So how do you know when it's enough? First of all, how do you know when it's too much? How do you know when you're doing too much personal development, too much personal growth, too much healing? How do you know when it's too much? How do you know when you have a problem?
How do you know when you have a problem? You have to be really honest with yourself, I think, because I think you know when you have a problem when you notice that you're not like doing any of the things or even trying to do any of the things that your mindset work or energy work was supposed to help you do. Right? So like I've spent a load of time on visibility mindset, right? And I noticed eventually that I was doing all this quote unquote work.
Yeah.
But I still hadn't pitched to a single podcast.
Yeah. So you were doing the inner work, but not the practical work.
So that means that I couldn't even prove to myself that the inner work works.
Yes.
Like I was perpetually staying in this I don't feel ready state.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are, the differences we're talking about today, I think are really, really fine lines, right? Like on the one hand, yes, I do believe that you need to align first and then act, which means that you have to do that energy work so that your system is ready to take the action you want to take and step into the identity you want to become. But on the other hand, it's really easy to just like you're never going to feel super ready. There's always an element of jumping into something, into the unknown, trying something that's a bit scary, and it's only the action that will show you that something has changed. But you can convince yourself forever that you're not ready to take the action. So there's like the line between those things is so fine.
Yeah. And I think that's why you really need to pair inner work, practical action, little by little, step by step, so that you don't get into that kind of trap of thinking, oh, I'm not ready. I need to be more aligned. I'm not aligned yet. And I won't take action until I'm 100% aligned.
Yeah. And I think you have to be a little bit comfortable with taking action that feels a bit scary and jumping into the unknown. Like you can't be in control of everything.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember when we were deciding when to have a child. And I remember people with children telling us like, it's never a good time.
Yeah, I've heard that so many times. Everyone says that.
Right? Like, it's just never a good time. Like, if you're going to be looking at it logically, you're just never going to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's never a good time. Like, you have this plan, you were hoping to go on this one trip, you were, whatever. Like, being pregnant in the winter, being pregnant in the summer, like, it's never a good time,
Yeah, if it's something that you want to do it. Like,
Yeah.
Assuming you can afford to.
So I think, I think you just have to be really honest with yourself. And if you see that you're in your third month of having kind of the same, like still wanting to do a certain thing, but you're not doing it, then just look at what you have been doing and whether it's time to try some action.
Yeah. Because it's the action that takes us out of our comfort zone and stretches our comfort zone. The mindset work helps get us into the place where we can take that action, but it's really the action itself that makes us kind of grow that muscle of doing something different.
Yeah, and I mean, and this brings us back to that point of, is learning and growth really the name of the game? And maybe it's not for you. Like, like I really hate all the comfort zone stuff that's out there. Like, I cannot stand it. I am a big fan of the comfort zone. A big fan. I like it in the comfort zone. Why the fuck should I not have a comfortable life? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I would not want to live my life in like perpetual discomfort.
Oh, no,
because I'm constantly growing. But that's what we're encouraged to do, to constantly push the limits and move beyond the comfort zone and whatever, and I'm not a huge fan of that either. So I think like you have to look at the assumptions. Like, again, in the personal development culture, we have this underlying belief that there's always something to heal.
Yeah, there's always something more.
Like, is that true? I say it all the time. I say, it's layers and you have to keep uncovering and it's never ending. And I always say the only thing that ends it is death, and you don't want that.
Yeah. Yes. And I've come from that as well. And yesterday, the woman that I was doing the camo ceremony with, she said to me, it's like the layers of the onion, You peel off the layer, you do what you can. And I said to her, but my onion feels infinite. Like, I feel like I've been peeling off layers for 10 years and I've still got 60 years left of onion layers.
That's like a really giant onion.
My onion is huge, okay? This is the mother of all onions.
That's what it feels like to everybody. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
What is again I have to heal something or release something or address something. When does this end?
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. We are the ones who choose. You can either choose to peel your infinite layers of onion, or you can choose at one point in your life to say, I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm good now. I'm just going to accept that this is the way life is, and this is the way I am, and this is who I am, and this is it.
Or you can do both.
Yeah.
Right? And we touched upon this in our last joint episode on this idea of acceptance.
Yeah.
Right? And change. So you can both accept yourself as fine and good, and you'll be happy in your current life, in your everyday life. And you could still desire some kind of change or be exploring growth and seeing where that leads you. But I think I think where it gets addictive and dangerous is where we're coming from, this place of hating our present moment.
Yeah.
Or being really just not wanting to be here. And so wanting to be someone else or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so doing all this personal development stuff, hoping that will get us somewhere else. And I think that's where it can be addictive, because if you're coming from a belief that you're not good enough, that your life isn't good enough, that that you kind of constantly want more, you're never going to be satisfied. And so you'll just be going from goal to goal to goal to goal to goal, and it's never ending. Then those layers really are never ending. And I'm not sure it's actually a problem that they're never ending. I think it's a problem with how you feel, because it could be an excitement thing. That there's so much growth to be experienced and I still have 60 years of onion peeling, right?
Yeah.
That might be a good thing.
I look forward to seeing what layers are underneath my onion.
All right. So, this is wonderful, because this is the key is to love the peeling of the onion just for the process of peeling of the onion, and not attach it to a certain result or a certain outcome, right? So we get addicted when we want something. We want more money.
Yeah.
Right? We want more money. And so we're constantly miserable and dissatisfied and judgy and whatever else about our current money situation. We're constantly buying personal development courses, books, etc., to get a different money reality.
Yeah.
And it keeps us in this perpetual state of dissatisfaction and unfulfillment and and just feeling crappy about our life, right?
Yeah. This is reminding me of years ago when I trained as a coach. We were constantly being reminded that when you're working with someone, when you're working with a client, the correct kind of state of mind or perspective is to be open and curious about what the client says, what the client brings to the table. And so in that same way, you can be open and curious about what layers of onion you have, rather than judging your onion layers.
Yeah, and judging your onion layers and kind of relating it to, so this is why my life sucks. And if I only peel this one layer, then I'll have the holy grail of the $1 million in my bank account.
Yeah.
Because then you're linking your whole personal development and growth journey to an external factor.
Yeah.
And you're hoping that external factor will make you feel good about yourself, but it's not going to. We all know that.
Yeah. Well,
it's not going to make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't all know that, because some of us keep hoping that.
Yeah, but we know at a deep level. When you hear this, that it's happiness comes from within. We all know that that's true.
Yeah.
Now whether we want to accept it or not, that's a different story. But you can feel the truth in that.
Yeah.
And we've all experienced achieving goals, or getting to a certain point in life and still not being happy.
Yeah.
So we know that that's true, right?
Yeah.
And it's anything
a
else.
Part of us does.
Pretending. Yeah, a part of us does. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I really don't think I'm addicted to healing, or so what are some signs that people might have been? Because as you said earlier, like you think that both of us have at some point been addicted to healing and personal development. So one of the things that kind of popped up into my head was a friend of ours was really kind of addicted to the pendulum and wouldn't make decisions without like consulting the pendulum. And you had mentioned someone who had something similar with tarot cards.
Yeah. I wanted, like, I got really excited that someone in my, like, in real life community had used tarot cards. And when I approached her about it, she's like, oh, no, like, I used to, but I got really addicted and I wasn't capable of making any decision at all, like, even the simplest decisions without consulting the cards. And, like, I myself used to consult the Ouija board all the time when I was in my teens and early 20s. I got really addicted to that. So, I mean, that's a clear sign. Like, if you're asking your pendulum whether you should wear the blue or the green top, like, yeah. There's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And this person was, like, that specific, like, literally did not make a decision without checking.
So, like, if you can, I mean, you have to be able to rely on yourself and your inner knowing and your instinct and all that. Like, because otherwise, like, what you're doing is just giving that power away to something external. Like, and it feels like it should be a good thing because it's spiritual and connective and whatever else. But it's not. Like, it's still some external object that's showing you the way. So, yes, that's a very clear sign that you're doing too much. I'd say also, like, if you're hoping that next self-help book will fix you.
Yeah. Or that next therapy session or healing session or.
Yeah, like. I used to hire people from this space, I'd be like, I'm not earning enough money, so I'm going to hire this person and she'll heal my money blocks and then I'll earn lots of money.
Yeah, this person or this therapy is going to be the answer to all my problems or this specific problem.
If you're doing that, and you can just be honest with yourself right now as you're listening to this, then that's addictive. And again, like, it's looking for answers somewhere beyond yourself, external to yourself. And it's not like dealing with what's actually going on in your life. So it's not accepting and being present with your current life experience. It's kind of a constant focus on being someone else or wanting something more. And again, like, there's a really fine line here between like you can do this in a way that's healthy. And only you can know whether the way you're doing it is healthy. Obviously, from we can't tell if you listening have that problem or not. But just like really think about how you think about yourself, whether you're good enough and what are you using these personal development tools for and what you're hoping to achieve, whether it's just out of curiosity or whether it's because you want to fix yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you feel like you're broken and you're just trying to fix yourself, that could go on forever.
That could go on forever. And it'll just perpetuate this cycle of like trying to fix yourself and you're not fixed. So you feel bad about yourself and then you try something else. You still feel bad about yourself. And that's, like, I like to think about examples of people who have really good lives and seem really like, great, but don't do any personal development work. And, that can be due to lots of things. Like we said, the soul comes in with a certain plan, some certain things to experience. But, nevertheless, like, it certainly seems possible to have a good life without a focus on personal development and growth and energy healing. Because people do it.
Yeah. All the time. There are plenty of successful people, highly successful people who don't do any personal development work. They just came into this world, did the practical work, and achieved success.
Yeah. Or did nothing at all, right? Like, and we're just lucky. Like, I know people like that myself who are just lucky. So you have to, like, think about, like, I think the when you use personal development as a crutch and, like, the be all end all, like when you assume that you'll be a failure if you don't do this stuff or that you're already a failure. Again, you're trying to fix yourself. Or we keep coming back to the same reason, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's because we need to hear that because it's so easy to fall into that trap. Like, I'm not good enough. I need to fix this. I need to fix that. Like,
the more personal development work that I do, the more I understand that the key to everything is finding joy in your current moment.
Yeah.
And like, depending on where you are on your growth journey or whatever, and like, you know, how much personal development you've done, that might make you really angry with me because it seems like such a trite statement. And certainly at various points in my life, like when I would hear something like that, I'd be like, no, like, go away, you know, like you clearly don't know what you're talking about. But these simple things I find are really the keys to everything, like self-acceptance, finding joy in the moment, like just being with where you are right now and like being okay with where you are right now. Like all the personal development stuff, the true personal development stuff, I think brings us to that moment rather than to creating more. But interestingly, of course, like when you get that part right, the more that you want comes more easily.
Yeah.
It's really like counterintuitive because you'd think that if you focus on success and goals, it'd be easier to achieve those things than if you don't. But in fact, I have found that it's the opposite, that if you kind of focus on what's on the other side of success, the fulfillment and the enjoyment, on all those things that you think success will bring you.
Exactly.
Even though you don't have, so you have to be okay with not getting the success and allow yourself to feel good anyway. That's what actually has more chance of bringing that success you desire into your life. Except that then it won't be as important because you'll already like have the things that you want that were on the other side of success. Well, am I making any sense?
It is. It's like I'm thinking of Danielle Laporte and how she talks about your core desired feelings. So it's like you want to achieve all these goals because you think they're going to make you feel X, Y, Z.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking about this a lot right now I think this is going to air in, when is it going to be live? In December or January?
Towards the end of the month, December.
Yeah. So as we record this, it's kind of mid-December, and I'm thinking a lot about goals for the new year and kind of seeing all these workshops go by and all that stuff, you know, and I'm like, I'm very tempted to sign up for things that are coming from that space because that's what I'm used to. And I like goals. I like lists. I like all that stuff. But I'm kind of like, it's not feeling right to me because I know that it's the fulfillment piece that's more important. Yeah, I mean, you can be addicted to healing or you can be addicted to goal setting, and it's the same thing, right? It's like it's a desire for something different and a resistance to what is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's interesting that you say that because when I look at my plan for 2020, I've got half of the page, I've got this whole page, half of it's goals and projects that I want to complete, and half of it is experiences that I want to have. So like the ethnobotany course that I signed up for, the wildlife identification course, like I signed up for a lot of workshops and courses and things because those are the experiences that I want to have. You know, the walks, the long distance trails that I want to walk, those are the experiences that I want to have. And I don't see those so much as goals. I mean, I guess it is a goal to walk X trail or, you know, whatever, but that's what I want to experience. And I want to achieve these other things. So I feel like I have a really exciting kind of mix of plans for next year because it's not just goals, it's experiences.
See, and I would argue that behind both goals and experiences, the key to all of that is an identity, is who you are and how you show up and what you're willing to feel in your daily life. Because like, even experiences, like you might not get to experience something because, I don't know, because you run out of money or because your health fails or like all sorts of reasons. People want to experience, you know, travel the world and then they can't for whatever reason. And the key is to be okay with that, right? To be okay in yourself. Yeah. And I think like, you know, if your healing and your personal development stuff is geared towards more self-acceptance and more of that, more of being okay in you, then I feel that that's like good, quote unquote. I'm like, the word is not coming to me, but like where it gets really dangerous is when you attach it to that outcome, to a desired outcome, to something else, because then it comes from resistance to who you are. There's something you don't like, you don't accept, you want to change. And I think that's where the addiction comes in.
So why is it a problem to be addicted to healing and personal development? I think this is an important question because I think it's still it's so easy to think, but it's good, like the more we heal ourselves.
Well, it can detract from your life, right? Like you can actually spend all your time doing healing stuff and reading personal development books and like not be present
in your life,
in your actual physical life with your actual physical friends and your family and the food in your fridge and the mess and clutter in your house, like all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's an escape.
It's an escape.
Yeah.
So, and I think, I mean, you could argue that that's not actually a problem, like that you can choose to live your life that way.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to just remind yourself that you were born into physical to be in the physical.
Yeah.
So whether that's to experience something or to share some kind of message and help people, like it's all connection stuff. It's all done on the physical plane of existence.
Yeah. Well, my spiritual teacher that I was with for, 12 years always used to say, you must be in the world, but not of the world. Yeah. Like you're spiritual people, but you are in the world. Like you've got to live this life in physical reality.
And I think that's really hard. Like, I think it's easy to get addicted to all sorts of things. I mean, we're talking about addiction to like healing work and personal development. Watching Netflix is the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people would argue with me that it's a better use of your time. Not convinced, right? Because it kind of depends on what you do next. Honestly, like if you read a personal development book or attend a course and then do nothing based on that, then you may as well have been watching Netflix. Yeah, exactly. It was the same sort of escapism for something, getting kind of a dose of something different, something better, maybe some inspiration. But like, if nothing changes, then what's the point?
Exactly. That's why my an old coach of mine always used to call them shelf-help books rather than self-help books because...
Oh my God, that's so good.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it makes your bookshelf look super spiritual, but what has it done for you internally?
Yeah. If you're still hating yourself in your life,
you
may as well be watching Netflix for escapism.
Exactly. Or having another glass of wine.
Yeah. It really doesn't matter.
So what's the alternative? Like, if you recognize that you've been addicted to healing and you want to kind of shift things, what do you do instead? Do you just cut it all out of your life? Do you find a happy medium? What do you do?
Oh my God, I don't know. What do you do? A happy medium, I'd say, no?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that might not be your next step. Like, I find that, like, I tend to go from one extreme to the other before I can find that happy medium sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like I do a lot of one thing and then I cut it out of my life and then I kind of come back to the middle and I find that. But, do whatever works for you.
I think whatever feels best, right? I think that's always a really good way to make any sorts of choices is like what feels better to you. Like if reading those personal development books feels really good, if doing the healing work feels really good, then why not? Like if that's how you want to spend your time, it is your life, right?
But make it a conscious decision. And I think that's what we've been kind of hinting at throughout this conversation is be conscious about how you're choosing to spend your time. And
also, don't put so much pressure on the healing and personal development work. Like even that is not a magic bullet.
Yeah.
Like I think there's so many other things at play when it comes to our lives, like what if you also are a person who, whose soul just wanted to experience really slow success? Or maybe, you wanted to experience what it's like to just try.
Yeah. And push yourself. Like maybe that was what you came to learn. I mean, yeah.
So, so if you're doing your healing and personal development stuff only in order to change something in your life, like something external in your life, that's really dangerous because then if it doesn't change, you end up feeling miserable.
Yeah.
And like nothing you're doing is working.
Yeah, and I've been thinking also as we're talking about this is that for me sometimes the happy medium is there's like an ebb and flow. Like I'll do a bunch of work and then I won't do any work because I'm integrating or taking the action, and then I do some work. And I was kind of thinking about that as well as when you were talking earlier about the comfort zone and how some people say you have to constantly be pushing the comfort zone. And I feel like I do consciously push my comfort zone, but not in that way. Like, I'll push it and then I'll kind of settle into the new zone, and then I'll push it. Like with my kickboxing. Like, whenever I do one of the advanced gradings, it's really, really hard. It totally takes me out of my comfort zone, but it's every 6 months. Yeah. You know? So it's like I stretch and I'm like, oh my God, that was so hard. And then I settle into it. And then like I stretch. And so I think...
You enjoy the process though as well, don't you?
Yes, I do. I very much do. I
think that's key. You're not doing it only in order to get that next grade.
Exactly. I do it because it stretches me. It makes me feel good about myself because I did something that I was scared of and I did it anyway, and it makes me feel better.
Yeah, so I think that's what makes it different. Huh? And so I think like if you think you have, you've been doing too much healing or personal development work, or maybe like you've given up on it because you've done so much and then nothing changed. And consider these things that we're talking about today. Like consider whether you can come at things from a place of curiosity and enjoying the process rather than goal achievement, right? Because that's the thing though. Like, it's like almost like we've tricked ourselves. Like, we're supposed to be, like, in theory, like going away from a goal achievement and all that kind of masculine go, hustle energy. And so we do healing, soft healing instead, the feminine stuff, intuition, all that stuff, right? But for most people, I have noticed that nothing has actually changed. Like, they're still doing it from that same energy of go, and hustle. All those messages about, heart-centered hustle and whatever, like, it's still hustle. It's still focused on achieving a goal. It's still focused on something about your current situation being wrong. You wanting to do something to make it right or better or whatever. To fix it, right? I really think that's where the problem is.
Ignoring self-acceptance and trying to fix.
So it all comes from this like place of resistance. And Eckhart Tolle, who I have a lot of respect for, I think he is really... The stuff he comes out with is real, like, proper truth. It's just very difficult for us to integrate because it's so... like deep and whatever. Like he says, one of the things that has stuck with me from some of the stuff I've read of his is that all of our pain and suffering comes from resistance. All of it. And so if you're doing healing personal development from a place of resisting where you are, so if you're doing it because you don't want to be who you are, you don't want to be where you want to be, that's where we run into problems. Now, I don't know if you can hear all that noise outside my window. There's like first of all, they've been drilling, and now there's like this giant truck just pulled in. I don't know what they're unloading, but like looks like half of a construction site. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure we can do anything about that.
No, I don't think we can. But I think we're also probably coming to the end of this episode, so perfect timing.
Yes, good.
So any final thoughts for someone who might be listening to this and thinking, oh shit, I think I am addicted?
Really focus your attention on just being okay with who you are. And where you are. And from that space, it's much easier to make the changes that you want to make. So this is what Holly and I touched on in the other episode on identity. It's not that... that if you accept where you are, your current situation, learn to appreciate yourself the way you are now. It's not that you're getting complacent and nothing will ever happen and you'll get stuck in that situation. It's from that place of self-acceptance. It'll be much easier to achieve the things you want and to make those changes. And at the end of the day, all you want is to be happy and enjoy life, right?
Yeah.
And from a place, if you release that resistance and focus on accepting the moment, and being in the moment, like being fully present, that enjoyment comes a lot more easily. And it's not so dependent on whether you achieve a certain goal or not.
Yeah. And be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like so much of this comes from, like, beating ourselves up because we're not the thing that we want to be. We're not doing the things. And it's like we're beating ourselves up. And just, like, chill and be kind to yourself.
Yeah, and you just be very aware that the personal development industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like, it's become the same as the weight loss industry. And we can agree that the weight loss industry has a vested interest in you never losing weight or in yo-yo dieting, right? And so it follows that the personal development industry has a vested interest in you always feeling like you're not good enough so that you buy into the next thing.
Yeah.
And so just be very aware of that. Kind of learn to question things and to discern what's really right for you and what's really feels good to you, as opposed to they said that if I do this, then I'll be fixed. I'll have a happy life. I'll be able to, all my dreams will come true if I do this one thing.
Trust yourself. Trust your gut. Yay.
Good. I think that's enough food for thought.
I agree. Thank you very much for another fascinating conversation.
Do let us know if you have any questions or thoughts about this. We would love to know.
Yeah, and you can get in touch with Joanna at
Joanna@joannahennon.com.
Or you can email me at holly@hollywharton.com. Thank you for listening. Please drop me a line and let me know what you thought about this week's episode. You can email me at holly@hollywharton.com or find me online and get in touch there. I would love to hear from you. I would also love for you to join me on Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/hollywharton, you can join there and support the show. I put a lot of time and effort and I invest money into the show, and I would love to have your support. If you find these shows, these episodes interesting, useful, I would love for you to support me. You can start at just $1 a month or more. So thank you very much. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in every week. Thank you for subscribing. It really means the world to me. Remember to visit hollywharton.com/336 for the show notes on this episode. Now, I'm going to be at a retreat when this goes live, and I know we're approaching the end of the year, and I just wanted to say I hope you have a fantastic 2020. Have a great year. Thanks so much for listening to Into the Woods with Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed, at hollywharton.com. That's HOLLYWORTON.com. If you'd like to connect with other listeners and get support on your journey, I would love for you to join my private community on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Holly Wharton. That's patreon.com/Holly Wharton. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week.